You led us into this one, and I think why it's so hard to believe that this happened to the Chiefs is because we said it last year. It's just like, oh, they can't just turn it on in the playoffs, and they turn it on in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Like, they're not this much better than everyone else, and they win the whole thing. So why couldn't they do it again? Well, because of that D. And while Jalen Hurts was the MVP, we'll give him his flowers as well later on. I mean, really, if you could give a true MVP to this game, it's the front four of the Eagles. They totally wrecked this game. I don't know if you disagree with that.
No, I don't.
Realistic Take says, damn okay to the Eagles D. For as good as they've been all year, it's almost like they got overlooked at times because of the stars on the Eagles O.
Yeah.
Absolutely dominant performance. The D-line caused havoc all game, made Mahomes shockingly rattled, looked just like that Super Bowl in Tampa.
Yeah, it did. It had a lot of similarities to that Super Bowl in Tampa. And yeah, this is why, I've joked around and said this Eagles team is an all-star team. I mean, you've heard me say that. It's position groups that are definitely the best in football.
But we didn't think they'd look that dominant.
No, I did not think they looked like that dominant. Not like they did last night. No, certainly. Josh Sweat certainly could have been an MVP last night.
Yeah.
With 2.5 sacks, and he's the guy that caused the second interception by Mahomes because he basically knocked Joe Thuney right into the back of Mahomes as he's throwing the ball, and that's why the ball went, off target and got intercepted by Zach Bond. So he was certainly capable of that. Ahmed, you've heard me say this too before. In games like this, right, this is where if you do have a defensive line and it's an alpha group, as we know, and they got freaks here. It's not like it's just like, oh, we don't know who this guy is or he has nothing special. Their backups are special. That's where they're in a different class than most teams. Their back four or their 5, 6, 7, 8 on the D line would probably start for a majority of teams in football, right? That's how good they are. And when you're told all week, right, like the Giants were in Super Bowl 42 against Tom Brady and company, right? Maybe like the Bucs were told against Mahomes the first time around. We can't win the Super Bowl unless you guys get there. We can't win the Super Bowl unless you guys get there. We can't win the Super Bowl if you guys got to dominate the game. And then, of course, you're hearing that every day in your meeting. You're watching film, right? And they're frothing at the mouth by the time the game gets here, let alone we're playing a Chiefs offensive line that hadn't been an issue for 2 years, really. The greatness of Mahomes covers the Band-Aids there, but then, of course, we have injuries on top of that this year, too. So the game starts with the front four. When they don't blitz one time.
So here's the next-gen stats on that. The Eagles did not blitz once across 42 dropbacks in the Super Bowl. Just the fourth defense to not blitz in a game in the next-gen stats era. Relying on the front four, the Eagles generated 16 pressures, sacked Mahomes 6 times, his most in a game in his career. I mean, that says it all. The stat of the Super Bowl.
Ahmed, 4-man rush, and if you didn't look at the rush and you just saw Mahomes in the pocket and we just canceled it out, you'd go, they must be blitzing everybody. He's ducking everywhere. But no, it was a 4-man rush. Some of those were 4-man rushes against 6-man, 7-man protections, and they still were there in half a second. So, again, I know people are already on Mahomes and he's not the GOAT and all of that. This wasn't fair to Mahomes. That's what I would tell you. Been very few quarterbacks that have gotten to the Super Bowl and been in this situation with this caliber of team and offense and talent, and that's where it hurt him. But yes, that's where the game was incredible. The fact that you heard me say a million times, hey, the Eagles better play man-to-man. If they play zone defense, right, he's going to pick them apart. Well, I was wrong. I obviously didn't even realize how much better the Eagles were. Mm-hmm. Vic Fangio went back on film. He was like, no, Chris Simms, you're wrong. You're wrong. We can beat them doing exactly what I've been doing the whole year. Yeah. And actually be the simplest I've been in any game all year. Pete had the numbers already. I mean, it's cover 4, it's the same coverage 60% of the game.
Yeah.
Right? So that just tells you that they were like, wait, so we like our physical matchup and we don't feel like there's any way in any area where we feel like we can be exposed.
The Eagles played zone coverage on all but 2 dropbacks, specifically cover 4.
Yeah.
60% of the time, the third highest rate by a defense in a game since 2018. Highly unsatisfying if you're Vic Fangio. You win your Super Bowl, defensive coordinator, and it's like you don't have to do anything. You just sit there.
Yeah, well, this is where it became, hey, coach my guys what to look for, right? we're going to be in this defense and play fast, and we don't need to trick it up against them because we don't feel like there's any area that stresses us. And why do they play cover 4? People might ask. Well, it takes away cover 4. The safeties are more up and in the middle of the field. So you do RPOs, right? And you're trying to hit that slant over the middle, and it ain't going to be there with the safety and cover 4. So that's not going to be there. It's going to make things hard for Kelsey over the middle of the field a little too. A little like 10-yard in cut. All those. The safeties are going to be there. So that's tough. Let alone it can help out with the run game a little bit, which, again, was not even a factor in the game. Without blitzing and playing cover 4 with 2 safeties deep the whole game, they couldn't run the ball at all. That speaks, again, to the absolute ass-whooping. That, Ahmed, I know you believe me. My third note of the game was the Chiefs look outclassed. I mean, the Chiefs are really in trouble. They are not physical. They are not in the class physically as the Eagles, right? So right away, I did not like the look of the game. And so they take away the RPOs, they take away that, and then the other aspect of cover 4 and where it says, you know what else it tells me? They weren't worried about one receiver. Because cover 4 basically becomes man-to-man on the outside. That's what it becomes because the safeties are worried about all those things I just told you about. So they're basically out there playing man-to-man, and that just tells you they were like, we're not worried about Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy or slow DeAndre Hopkins or Juju Smith-Schuster. We feel like we match up great with the 2 of those guys are small and fast that can't take any physical aspect of route running, and the other 2 guys are physical but can't run away from anybody. So they were like, this is great. Fine. We'll just stop over the middle stuff, and they won't be able to do anything, and that's kind of what we saw.
I do believe you. I do need the timestamps, though, on those texts just to make sure.
Okay, here we go.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, we're going to look, though. Not in physical class. That's 7:16.
Okay,
all right. That's 7:16. So we're probably about 3 drives in. 7:16.
It's a little,
Eastern time.
7:16, yeah. We're 3 drives in.
So I'm
glad I did
You're
check
funny.
that, actually. You're right.
Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.